Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Trader Seat Time with me, Darius and Anucauskas. Today is the 27th of December 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Friday's afternoon session where we're going to have a quick look at the markets, view the charts, the usual stuff. But before we do that, as always, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, also, just before we jump into the charts, quick mentioning of our JFD YouTube channel here, to which you can always subscribe to in order not to miss any of our upcoming videos, and of course our JFD Bank website, and specifically our JFD research page, which we update on a daily basis. So, yep, feel free to visit us here, and I believe you can find a lot of useful stuff here. But for now, let's jump into the charts. Now, the first one I want to touch on here is the FTSE 100. Now, looking at this one, it traded higher today, and this is what I was talking about. So it moved up, but of course it's still a little bit far, let's say, from our target near the 7,727 mark. So you can see that the index managed to hit the upper side of the Bollinger Band and kind of is retracing slightly right now to the downside. Still remains above its R2, today's R2. So the big question here is, can it actually retrace a little bit more? But given the fact that it is quite overstretched here to the upside, so in a way we are keeping this idea in our heads. But don't get me wrong, the markets are strong; they are pushing higher. So, but yeah, given, like I said, given that they are quite overstretched on the shorter time frames, so overstretched to the upside, of course, there is a possibility still to see a bit of a correction. Now, looking at this picture here on the 4-hour chart, we can see that it is still trading above this short-term, a bit of a maybe tentative upside support line taken from the low of the 17th of December. So in a way, even if it decides to retrace a little bit lower, as long as it remains above this upside line, we will continue targeting the upside. So if this upside line breaks and the price falls below the 7,600 territory or somewhere around here, then yep, this is where it could become a little bit more exciting for the sellers, and we could see this one drifting back down towards the 7,497 zone or even below that. So for now, of course, the upside is the main scenario, but maybe, just maybe, we could see that a bit of correction. Don't get me wrong, if it decides not to do any bigger correction and suddenly reverses back to the upside, keep your eyes on today's high, and that's roughly around, let me just quickly put this one on the chart, that's roughly around the 7,665 zone. So a nice good pop above this would confirm a forthcoming higher high, and we could aim for higher levels. So keep your eyes on this one. Nasdaq, so Nasdaq 100. Yesterday, in general, Nasdaq Composite and the Nasdaq 100 were the biggest gainers, and they've did shoot up nicely here to the upside. Looking at the cash index right now, we can see that the price is slightly above the 8,800 zone. So this is where the upper side of the Bollinger Band is. So in a way, it did hit that area here, and now it's kind of retracing a little bit lower. So, but still remains above the 8,800 zone. So now, you can see that I've removed all the lines here, so in a way we can do this one from scratch here, and to be honest, we can do this one a little bit of a more of a shorter term one. So in a way, first of all, we're gonna draw this nice upside support line, a bit of a tentative one, I do understand that, but nevertheless we'll keep an eye on it. So in a way, as long as it remains above this upside line, there is still a possibility for the bulls to jump in and push this one higher. At the same time, if it remains above this upside line, the price would also remain above its 21 EMA, which also could be seen as a positive. So, but again, don't get me wrong, we are quite overstretched to the upside. So every single day, the U.S. equities, almost every single day, the U.S. equities keep on confirming new all-time highs. So Of course, don't get me wrong, this has to end at some point, but the question is, how will this end? I mean, will we see a deeper decline, or actually we'll see just a small correction before another leg of buying? So this is where this upside support line comes in. And also what you could do here is keep an eye on some areas of support. In terms of resistance, I mean, in terms of higher levels here, marking something here, I mean, it's a bit pointless because these are all-time highs, so in a way we could just try to guess maybe 8,850, but again, that's a bit too much speculation, let's put it that way. So we'll rather stick to the downside, and we'll keep an eye on this 8,684 territory here, which is marked by the low of the 24th of December. Now, I do understand the market, well, the market wasn't fully open on the 24th, but still we'll keep an eye on this level, 8,684. If we see a drop below this upside line and we see a drop below this 8,684 zone, then we will consider a possible move lower, because in a way, if we do get a break through this territory, we probably will also get a drop below the 21 EMA here on the 4-hour chart. So in a way, more bears could start seeing this as an opportunity to join in. But let's not get ahead of ourselves too much. For now, as long as it remains above this upside line, everything kind of still is leaning towards the upside. Bitcoin Cash. Now, I haven't looked at this one. In general, I don't look at this one very often. I tend to stick to Bitcoin or Ethereum or Ripple, but Bitcoin Cash is kind of presenting itself with a nice, interesting setup here. So overall, you can see that yes, it has been on a decline since around the beginning of November, and kept on sliding lower. But now you can see that the crypto is coiling up a little bit here, so it's getting into a squeeze. And in a way, what we're going to do here is we're going to keep an eye on this. Well, not an ideal triangle, let's put it that way, but basically we'll keep an eye on these two lines, the downside and the upside one. But mainly we'll focus on some key support and resistance levels, like on the downside the 182.70, and on the upside the 194.33. The only thing is here is that we do have the 198 zone as well, which could be a nice area of resistance. So that's why, in a way, for those who are more on the cautious side, you could just wait for a push above the 198 zone and then aim for the upside. So we will start considering higher levels if we get a push above the 194 zone, but just to get a little bit more comfortable, a push above the 198 zone could do the trick here. Initially, we'll target the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart, but our better level here sits near the 212 territory, so we'll keep an eye on that one, guys. For now, we'll just wait this one out, wait for a clear break, and then we could do something with it. Because but the only thing is, with the downside here, remember that even if we see a drop below the 182 territory here, yes, we will aim for slightly lower levels, but a very strong area of support comes here near the 169 area, and that's basically the current lowest point of December, so keep your eyes on that one. USDJPY. Now, I looked at this one previously, and basically what I was saying here was that we are keeping a close eye on this little short-term upside support line taken from the low of the 31st of October. But at the same time, we're keeping, from the shorter-term perspective, we are keeping a close eye on this little range here, roughly between the 109.17 and the 109.73 zone. So the 109.73 zone is the currently the highest point of December. So we still have a few days to go in December. So if we do get a pop above this, then yes, this would confirm a forthcoming higher high. This would confirm a new high for December, and then we will aim for initially we'll target the psychological 110 territory, and then after that we'll have a look, because we do have a nice area of support here near the 110. Let me just zoom out a little bit here. We do have this little territory as potential resistance near the 110.67, but first we'll keep an eye on the psychological 110 territory. If this pair drops below the 109.17, yes, there could be a chance for this one to drift lower, but we'll keep an eye on this 200 EMA. But if that fails, yes, it is opening the path towards slightly lower levels. The only thing is that in terms of the downside could be limited due to this little short-term upside support line. So in general, general, if you don't want to have a look at this upside line, then well, might as well probably keep an eye on this little territory here. Very good strong area of support near the 108.40 zone, and that basically marks the low of the 4th of December, the 9th of December, and also the 11th of December. So that's why we will keep an eye on this upside support line, but probably the more important one, the more important level to watch is going to be this one near the 108.40, and that's of course if we do get a drop below the 109.17. USD CAD. So this one's quite interesting. It's selling off nicely. So the more important thing here is that it broke the lowest point of December, and at that point, of course, and it broke it today, so it created a new low for December. Now the big question here is, can it continue traveling further south? In a way, if it remains below the 1.3098 zone here, which was previously the lowest point of December, then yes, in a way, we will start targeting this little territory here near the 1.3037, and then we'll take it from there, see what he wants to do, because this is the lowest point of October. So we'll keep an eye on this one. It's going to be quite interesting to see if it can actually reach that, and it would be even more interesting if we could get a nice strong rebound back to the upside from this territory. So that's why, guys, for now, yes, we are more bearish than bullish on this one, especially if it continues to trade below the 1.3098 territory. If it pushes back above it, we'll take a more neutral stand for now, because in a way this area here could be a little bit of a tricky one. So in a way, I do understand that we're missing out on a little bit of a space, but to be honest, we'd rather be safe than sorry, and we'll wait for a push above the 1.3175 zone and only then target the upside, because until then, this territory here could be a tricky one. So we could see another round of selling maybe, and that's why for now, like I said, we'll keep an eye on some of these key support and resistance levels. But for now, everything's kind of leaning more towards the downside, especially if it stays below the 1.3098. GBPCHF. So nice continuation of trading above this upside support line. So wonderful. So that's, of course, you can see that the bulls are still keeping control of this, and this one's the line here is taken from the lowest point of August, and for now, we are neutral, even though it continues to trade above this upside support line. This is what I said in the beginning of this week, where I was covering GBPCHF. Basically, for us to start considering higher levels, a push back above the 1.2890-91 zone, roughly around there, would be required. In a way, if you want to start looking at this earlier, you could start looking at this level right here near the 1.2833 zone. But to be honest, be very careful here, have your stop losses in place, and just in case this has a nice false breakout and then reverses back to the downside again. So we have seen these happening several times, so that's why, guys, be very careful on this one. So that's why we do have this 1.2890 zone as the potential area for after which we would examine higher levels. So keep your eyes on this one. In terms of the downside, well, it's pretty straightforward. We need to see a break of this upside line and a drop below the 1.2660 before we could consider lower areas, and by lower areas we will only drag it up until here, up until the 1.2460. If it does overshoot our territory, for example, then yes, that's good news. That's wonderful for the bears, but again, let's keep it short and simple. For now, we'll keep an eye on this 1.2460 if we see a drop below the 1.2660 level. So about a 200 pip move here, so could be a nice one to consider. Euro Aussie. Now, Euro Aussie, I've posted this one on our trading view account here, and basically it managed to reach this key area of support, which was the lowest point of November, and that was near the 1.5968 zone, from which the pair rebounded. Of course, this is all looking nice and tidy here. In a way, there are some bulls probably who are looking for a potential move higher. The only thing is that don't forget, this may be just a small pause before a further continuation to south. So, but in order to consider this move lower, we need to see a drop below the 1.5968 first, and only then we will aim for further declines. So But of course, don't get me wrong, it's very close to this key barrier near the 1.601920 territory. If we do get a push above this, this would also place the pair above its 21 EMA here on the 4-hour chart, and then we could start targeting these higher levels like the 1.6059 or the 1.6105 territory here. Don't get me wrong, it's still going to be a very tricky one. It's still going to be a very tricky spot here because we do have all these EMAs, so in a way one of them could kind of slow down the rate acceleration. And but if you want to be really on the cautious side, you could just wait for a push above the 1.61 46 47 territory here, and wait for a push above the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour chart, and then aim for higher levels. Until then, yes, if we do get a push above the 1.6020, we will aim for higher levels, but we'll be very careful and have a tight stop loss just in case this suddenly reverses and drops lower. But still, it could present itself with a nice opportunity to go long here. But again, first let's go step by step. Let's wait for a break above this 1.6020 territory and then aim higher. But again, I cannot stress this enough. Still, you would need to have a very tight stop loss just in case this reverses suddenly back down and stops you out and just, you know, and starts dropping below the 1.5968, because this is where it could become a little bit ugly for the buyers. And the last pair for the session is going to be the euro dollar. So this is what I talked about this morning, and basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this 1.1124 territory, because if we do get a nice strong push above this, this could lead towards further higher areas. Initially, as I said, we will target the 1.1144, then we'll target the 1.1158, and as you can see, this is where the rate is currently stalling at. Now our main target is around the 1.1183, but given the sharp uprise that we already had here, in a way, what could happen here is maybe something like this, where we could see maybe a small correction before another leg of buying. So if this area here, the 1.1158, continues to hold, we could see this one reversing back down a little bit, maybe testing the 1.1144 from above this time, and if it holds, we could see a nice round of buying here, potentially leading the pair towards the 1.1183. But if this starts dropping lower, and for us to consider the downside, well, ideally a drop below the 1.1110 zone would be required, and only after a drop below this level that we will again target the 1.1065 zone, which is the low of the 20th of December, or even we could start targeting this upside support line taken from the low of the 1st of October. So for now, everything's kind of leading more towards the upside. Don't forget about a small potential correction first, and then we'll take it from there. But again, our target is right now the 1.1183, and then we'll reevaluate this again. Okay, guys, I really hope you found it useful. Thank you very much for sticking around and watching it till the end. If you want to join me on Monday, as always, at my Trader's Espresso, that's 7 o'clock GMT time. For now, I hope you have a wonderful evening, guys. Wonderful weekend. Try to relax, and yes, we'll see each other on Monday at 7 o'clock GMT time, or in a way, we'll go get back into the markets on Monday. Like I said, 7 o'clock GMT time. So let's keep an eye on this one, guys, and let's keep an eye on the markets. Don't overtrade today. Have a nice rest. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.